You're listening to From There to Here, a Star Trek Enterprise podcast. Hello, my name is Josh, and with me is
Justin.
Today, we're not reviewing an episode. It's our season 1 recap. So what we're going to be doing is going through each episode individually, not in length, but in brief. We're kind of going to do an overview of each episode and how we remember feeling about it. Maybe see if we've changed our mind. Also, I have collected all of the grades that we've given to each episode, and I've found out how many of A's, B's, C's, and D's we gave out, and the average score for each of us. So when we get to the end, I'll let you know about that.
All right.
So when it comes to the first episode, Pilot, Broken Bow, you gave that a B. I gave it a B+. What do you have to say about Broken Bow? Where it all started for us some months ago.
Now
the speech prepared.
What do I think of Broken Bow? I think I stand by my grade. I think it's okay. It's not great. It had the bones to be great, but I think you could say that about the whole season.
Yeah, I think I still have the same sentiment, which was, I think it's one of the best pilots.
Yeah,
it's
I
not.
would definitely say
Yeah,
that.
it's. I mean, Encounter at Farpoint, I think it's the low point. But as far as like Deep Space Nine's pilot, Voyager's pilot, this one was pretty strong. I mean, a pilot has got to do so many different things.
Yeah,
you have to
pilots are
have a
hard.
story and introduce all your main characters. It's a difficult balancing act, and I thought they did a pretty good job.
They did. I forget exactly what points I would have noted that kept it from being an A, but I think a little too much. Unfortunately, I think that my issues with the pilot, I don't know if I said this or not. My issues with the pilot are the same issues with the season, which are it spends, frankly, either not enough or too much time with characters that frankly aren't really relevant. As much as we want to think of Mayweather as a main cast member, he's really not. Seldom does he get anything to do, and when he does, it's never quite enough. You want more because you're starting to get interested in him, but they never really deliver. So my memory is that the weaknesses of that episode are directly connected to that, which is I just don't care. Let's get on with the plot or with our main bigger core characters.
Yeah, if anything, I think he'd be comparable to maybe Sulu or Chekhov.
Yeah. And
that's fine.
That's not a bad thing.
But they set him up in the pilot to actually have a background.
Well, they set that,
and they never
everybody.
Yes, he got explored the least.
Well, no. What I mean is, let me rephrase that. He's given billing in the opening credits, so you assume he is part of the quote unquote ensemble, but he's really not. Hoshi gets more play as the series goes, but I would still never consider her. She's not part of the big three. There's a reason why Sulu, Chekhov, Uhura, Scotty might have deserved to be in the opening credits, but there's a reason why those three were never in the opening credits, because they weren't the stars of the show. And the credits knew that. And if the credits here reflected that, we wouldn't look at Mayweather as the problem is we go into it expecting more. We expect more from Mayweather. We expect more from Hoshi. We get a little more of her than we do of Mayweather, obviously. But I think, though, if memory serves, those were some of my bigger issues with the pilot. And because we knew where it was going. What about you?
Well, I kind of share that sentiment. I don't think I could have said it better.
Okay.
So I don't see a need to repeat it.
Done. Moving on.
Okay. Episode 3, Fight or Flight. Captain Archer wants to convert curiosity into deeds and decides to enter a ship floating in space. Hoshi has trouble adjusting to life on the Enterprise. Do you remember this one?
Yes, I do.
What do you think your grade was on this one?
I don't know. In the B's.
Yes, you gave it a B+. I gave it a B-.
All right.
we do tend to agree most of the time. We don't there isn't a great divergence in
Right.
scores from the two
Yeah,
of
we're
us.
usually
There's no
on
like
the same page.
I gave it an A and you gave it a D, nothing like that. We're usually pretty close. But yeah, what about the episode?
What it's about?
Yeah, do you remember how you felt about it?
I remember thinking that it was, especially being the second episode of the series, and exploring what that series was supposed to be about, which is humanity's first steps into the unknown of space. This was a decent, next step. Boarding an alien ship, finding them all dead, Hoshi freaking out, and
You're remembering a lot about it. I'm impressed.
the premise is good.
Yeah.
And someone, probably to Paul, realizes someone might be coming back, and that, I think, was a solid setup.
This is when we became openly, or at least I did, openly critical of the bad decisions that Archer was continuing to make.
He does continue to make, and I remember you and I being critical. They should have just left
Right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, they hung around for way too long.
Yeah. Clearly something was up, and there were signs, I forget what they were, but there was obvious signs that someone was going to come back.
If you remember,
Time
there was the analogy of Hoshi. She had the space slug,
Right.
and then at the end she delivered the slug to a planet.
Yeah,
and Phlox
I
was with
remember.
her. That's kind of a sign that she had grown or some
Right.
moving on, which was fine. You didn't seem to care for it. I remember you were very critical about that part.
It's a little too cutesy. Yeah.
But it was nice that the Hoshi character was getting a lot of play right from the get-go.
Well, she's a perfect vessel to do that with, because she is supposed to be like us, the audience. She's never been in space before.
That's true.
So everyone else there is a little more seasoned. She's the newbie. So, of course we're going to experience these things through her eyes. It's a shame they let go of that. Honestly, she would have been they grew her up a little too quickly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think. You think it was too quickly? You think so?
Well, by the last episode of the season, she's very confident. I mean, she went from, in that second episode, going from absolutely terrified, saying, "Don't ever let me go on another ship again. That was awful," to a year later, she's on an alien planet by herself, sexing up the local people.
Yes.
Whoring in New York City.
Well, he sexed her up, really.
She knew what she was doing.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. That's true.
And from being from that to being completely comfortable enough to be violated by an alien without medical permission. So she's gone the full gambit, and she's totally fine. I'm not saying she should have gone to Risa and been, a worrywart. I'm just showing, from end to end.
Worrywart?
You've never heard the phrase worrywart?
No. But I don't believe that it's
What
real.
are you, a neo-maxi Zoom dweeby?
I'd rather be that than a worrywart.
Anyway, you can find this conversation in Brian's shorts.
Yeah. I like this episode. I recall liking it. I wasn't wholly moved by it. I think that was why I gave it a B-.
No,
I thought it was fine.
think the biggest issue you and I found was, and as we found with basically the series so far, is the wrong choices and lack of consequence for those wrong choices.
Well, we want them to make bad choices to learn,
and we want there
but
to
they're
be
not
consequences.
having consequences.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
Okay, the next episode 4, Strange New World. Okay.
That's where they get stuck in the cave, and
that's
Trip and
Archer sends an away
Paul.
team to a habitable, luscious planet for observation, but when a storm occurs, the team begins to experience paranoid delusions.
Right.
Yeah. That was fair, as I recall. I gave it a C-, so I didn't think it was that fair.
What did I give it?
You gave it a B.
All right.
I think that was pretty divergent, actually.
Yeah.
Do
you remember why you would have graded it so low?
Oh man, this is going back a while. Let me see if I can remember. If anything, I would say that's okay. I think why I was critical of it was because of this concept of Strange New World being that the planet had its air was toxic to them. And I thought that could happen anywhere they go. This is one of those cliches of Star Trek that you're supposed to forgive.
Right.
you always beam down to a planet. There's always plenty of air to breathe, right? Never a problem with the air. But it's the first planet that's a whatever class planet. M class planet. Minchara class. Oh, well, something wrong with the air. Although I do remember enjoying parts of it. The story that Mayweather tells, the beep, beep. Yeah. That was funny. Yeah. I was like, wow, it's futuristic horror stories. They still tell stories around the campfire. He should have just
put a light under his face, honestly. Would have been better.
It would have been funny if they did like a little like jump scare. Like he did it to like, was Hoshi on the planet?
No, but I think Cutler
was. If he was like, bah, bah!
Yeah, that would have been funny.
Anyway, that part, I think that's probably why I brought it down. Other than that, I didn't find it to be a particularly memorable episode.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I barely remembered it now. Next one was episode 5, Unexpected. I think we know what this one's about. We don't have to explain it.
I think if I had to guess, let me guess. Did we give it B pluses?
You gave it an A. Oh. I gave it a B plus.
Oh, all right then.
Yeah.
Still not that far. It's really like, A to A minus B plus.
Yeah, I think this was our first, outside of the pilot, the first kind of
surprise.
It wasn't a surprise, the solid episode.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think I remember saying this during the review, was like, this is the one that I remember watching more of in repeats, and because out of the first season, like right out of the gate, like the first few I remember being kind of, then Unexpected comes along and it's kind of light and fun. It's got some comical elements to it.
Yeah.
They're making fun of Trip because he's got a nipple growing on him. Yeah. He's got hormones coursing through his veins. It was cute and fun.
Mm-hmm.
The actress that played the alien was good. The concept behind it was simple.
Yeah.
They're out there exploring,
and it was another thing that they hadn't thought of. It's,
how do you mean?
I mean, just like they didn't know what to do, what the right thing to do was when they boarded the ship in First Flight. They go to a planet and turns out when the wind blows, it makes you hallucinate. That's bad. Mm-hmm. Now, Trip, being unfamiliar with mixing with alien races, does something that, maybe he shouldn't. Granted, it seemed very simple and harmless, but I like, that it was like they said, it was just unexpected. It's not something that, granted, it had 2 meanings, but that's what I enjoyed about it, is that it was 2 friendly alien races, humans and whatever those people were, and just this thing happened.
Yeah, it was great.
No
they weren't adversarial. It was
just a whoops,
helping each other out.
Yeah, and then they had to spend time trying to find
cultural exchange and just a little mishap.
I remember a beef we had in the end. Do you remember
about
what
the
it was?
Klingons?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
the Klingons were way too nice.
It wasn't nice. They made them seem they weren't intimidating enough.
Exactly.
But nice means nice.
Maybe not nice, but they weren't intimidating at all. And you should feel threat when Klingons.
There was some threat, but not enough.
Not nearly enough.
They played that down a little bit. All right, the next one, episode 6. Can you guess what this one is?
No.
This was a benchmark for us.
Terra Nova.
We
finally got there.
Yeah, Enterprise tries to find out what happened on Terra Nova, the first colonization attempt outside Earth's solar system. Boy, do you remember what you graded this?
Well, we talked it up so much. I mean, were we both D's?
In the end, we were. Now, this is the thing, because I had to listen to all of our episodes, at least the ending of it, to find out what our grades were. You initially gave it a C-, and I badgered you long enough that you changed it to a D+. I gave it a D-.
Okay. Did I defend it or try to defend it?
Yeah, you tried, but eventually you gave in. You're like, yeah, this episode's crap. And you said, okay, D+.
Right. Okay.
You could have just, because you were just tired of listening to me.
Well, I'm sure that's probably why I gave in, but
probably.
I'm just trying to imagine what possible. Oh, I think if memory serves, it was just that while it's not a good episode, it was not as horrible as I quite remembered. And
it kind of was for me.
Not good, but it
definitely not good.
It wasn't some god awful mess. I mean, everything made sense. The plot moved along. It just was stupid.
It was shale.
It was shale. It was just shale.
Thank you for introducing us to that.
Bernadette.
Bernadette. Oh, that's Bernadette episode. Yeah, that's right. Okay, the next one, episode 7, the Andorian incident.
What I remember about this is that we were both disappointed. Underwhelmed would be the better word.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me of that. But this was actually our first agreement. We gave this a B. Solid B from both of us.
And we expected it to be more than that.
We did, because on the IMDb, it's also rated much higher. This has a 8.0. This is one of their highest ones.
I would not have given.
And it still is good. But
fine.
it doesn't play as well on repeat. That's the problem.
It doesn't. It does.
No.
I think you have the key there. It's on repeat. If you see it for the first time, it's probably quite entertaining.
Get the Andorians for the first time. We get Shran.
Yeah.
Shran's a great character.
Yeah.
He should have been in the show more.
Yeah. He's not even in the main cast, and he gets more play and more character development than our boy Mayweather.
He does.
In the series, I'm talking.
Does.
Yeah.
I really don't have much to say about this episode other than
I think that
it's
episode,
fair.
This is what I'll say about that episode.
Yeah.
I think that episode started the trend of episodes that had a cool idea but didn't exploit it
well enough,
as well as it could have been.
And
we're talking with minimal changes.
It does have some good moments.
Sure.
The ending moment I remember in particular, where Archer and Shran have that moment together where Shran says, I owe you one, or something like that. And he does pay him back.
He does.
And he means it. Like, Shran's a man of his word.
He
hates the fact that he has that over him.
Yes. This was keeping me up at night, pink skin.
Yeah.
But now we're even. Now I can sleep.
Next episode, episode number 8, Breaking the Ice. Everyone knows what this one's about. You gave it an A. I gave it an A. We both really like this one.
Yeah. Again, another nice example of the show doing things that it should have done more of, where they just get over their heads. And I like that, and it was nothing major. It wasn't,
it was a simple story.
A super villain. It wasn't about weapons.
Yeah.
It was just, they got stuck somewhere.
Like Unexpected. It was a simple story.
Yeah.
Something they are going to run into.
And it was something that they had to fight their own, stubbornness in asking for help, or Archer did.
Right. And it's the beginning. Well, it's not the beginning, but it's the continuation and heightening of their relationship with the Vulcans, their tumultuous relationship with the Vulcans. And it was done well.
And I think this was one of the first times, if not the first time, we actually started to enjoy the character of Malcolm Reed. When he's on the ice
he's
surface
building the snowman.
And he's the guilty one.
Yeah.
He's the one
encouraging Mayweather to do it. Yeah.
That was great.
But it was, all in all, it was good. And it doesn't end the way you might think. Archer actually does take the suggestion finally from T'Pol and does what she says. And takes the Vulcan's help. And it works.
I wish there were more episodes like this.
Yeah.
Where all the decisions were essentially correct. They got stuck further and further, but it wasn't because someone made a bad decision. It just didn't work, and then he had to, he was fighting against it, but eventually he gave in to what was the right decision, which was to ask for help. Yeah.
Right. Which is going to happen more in the series, but not enough in the first season.
No, not nearly enough.
No. All right. The next episode is a bland one. I don't know if you can remember which one that was, but I'm going to read the synopsis so in case people can't remember, excuse me. T'Pol finds unusual neutrino readings on a planet with a pre-industrial society.
Oh, is this Civilization?
Civilization, episode 9.
I remember I think I fell asleep.
Yeah, you fell asleep. This was not one of our favorites.
No, it was not.
We gave this down the board C, both of us. We were thoroughly unimpressed, but not...
It wasn't technically
bad. It was just boring.
Yeah.
It was unbelievably boring. Nothing interesting happened in it.
Nothing.
And I think this is one of the first episodes where we really started to rework the plot and say, like, what if they would have done this instead of that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. I mean,
and we're not, like I said, we're not talking about like effects changes and things like that. Just tweaks to the plot that would make it more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. This does start that trend.
Yeah, I think I remember my idea was to, because they find a guy on the planet who's actually an alien as well.
Right.
And you know he's bad from the get-go.
Yeah.
And then there's that girl they befriend.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, everything plays out exactly like it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But why don't they twist it so where she's actually the bad guy and he's the good guy? But they didn't do that.
Do something interesting.
Something, anything.
But they didn't.
It was very by the numbers.
Yes,
it was
it
just very unimpressive. Okay, next episode 10, Fortunate Son. Do you remember what that's about?
That's the one where the ship of what do they call them?
Cargo ships?
Cargo ship
Mhm.
has a Nausicaan on board.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. I forgot
the-
I forgot that part of the plot. Enterprise is sent to help the freighter Fortunate after an attack. However, its first officer, Ryan, is hiding something. That's what he's hiding.
Right.
That he has a
And
Nausicaan.
again, and here we go, right with another episode where we're like, cool idea,
Mhm.
but they absolutely folded and took all the teeth away, where they should have gone dark or this or that, and they just didn't do it. And we came away.
I remember what your opening line was. Do you remember?
No.
For the review? Well, the episode opens on the Fortunate.
Yeah.
And
throwing the football.
The football in zero or very low gravity.
Yeah.
It's like slowly going through the air, and you're like, "That's what this episode felt like." I was like, "Yeah, kind of."
I don't remember that, but it sounds good.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was. It was fine. You gave it a B-. I gave it a C+. It was just.
I remember
Okay.
the award there was definitely tempered by what the episode could have been, for sure.
This is Mayweather got involved a lot because this is his.
And you and I
boomer
disagreed on
backing.
some things with this.
We did
On
Okay.
some of Mayweather's characterization and the way that he challenged.
I didn't like that.
And I did.
No, I thought it was terrible that he kept butting in on the bridge
Right.
and he didn't get chastised for it.
No.
He should have been.
Well, but I know the conversation Travis has with the first officer of that ship, the Fortunate.
Mhm.
I remember you and I being very much on opposite sides as far as whether his tactic was good or not.
Yeah, I think that was the first time we almost went to blows.
Yeah.
We were getting
fought
pretty excited
over that.
All right. Next one's a good one.
Don't tell me that ahead of time. Just tell me what it is.
Episode 11, Cold Front.
Okay.
Okay, we both gave this an A. Everyone on the internet knows what this episode's about. I don't really have much to say about it. This was the introduction of the temporal Cold War. Well, is this really the first episode with it? Was that in the first episode?
It's in Broken Bow.
That's in Broken Bow,
But
right.
it's just teased.
It's just this is the first time it comes back,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it was this is where they find the ship that has that it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. That's
Right.
this one, right? Yeah.
Wait.
Isn't that
it?
this? Is
No.
that's
No,
not
that's
this
not
one?
this one. That's a later one.
Then what is this one?
I don't know.
Oh man, I'm getting confused.
I remember the title.
Enterprise has a group of aliens watching a stellar phenomenon on board. I remember that part. When the ship is miraculously saved from blowing up.
Oh, right.
Crewman Daniels has an important message for Archer. Oh, okay.
And that's where Silic is pretending like he's one of these.
Yeah, and that's okay because Daniel starts off as like a cabin boy, and
Right.
then he says, "Oh no, I'm actually from the future."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And if memory serves, we really liked this one.
Mm-hmm.
Our only hiccup was that they missed some of the potentials for extra tension that could have been there.
Yeah, that's
I forget
right.
exactly what it was, but I remember
Yeah.
we just kind of like did our own reworking. Well, if you had just done this, it would have held the tension longer.
Yeah,
or
I
something.
think because it wasn't I think this is the exact wording I used. It's not a B plot, but the aliens they pick up
Mm.
kind of take up some screen time.
Yeah.
And I think that throws the rhythm off a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because they do have to spend some time with them. But we need them to introduce Silic. But I don't think we needed to keep them around.
No, we didn't.
Once we pick them up, we don't need to see those other characters again.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to say about Cold Front?
No.
Next episode 12, Silent Enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is when we go on a hot streak. We're on and both A's for us for Silent Enemy.
I remember this one. I remember it doing well. I remember that our only beef was the end. Was
Okay.
that they get out of it a little too easily.
Do they?
Yeah, if memory serves, they were having some tracking issues with their torpedoes. And
yeah.
it was bouncing off the alien ship, their shields and all that. And they kind of fixed it just enough. And then the alien ship backed off. Like it was just a little too neat, a little too pretty. And we wish that they had suffered a little more consequence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not so much that they were able to shoot, but like if memory serves, the correcting of the torpedoes kind of happens a little too perfectly. And I remember we found like a plot hole with it. We were like, wait a minute, didn't he just do this or didn't it do that? And I remember focusing on that, and then also thinking he got maybe the ship turned a little too easily and left. But as a whole, we liked the episode. We liked the mystery. We
Mm-hmm.
never know who those people are.
Yeah.
And that was nice. That was nice to see it all from
This like unexpected
Yeah.
and breaking the ice. Very simple story. They're being stalked
that's
by
all it is.
aliens. They don't know what their motive is exactly. What do they want from them?
Mhm.
This alien ship can pretty much take them out at first when they wanted
And
to,
they're
but they
toying
don't.
with them.
They're basically toying with them, and they come on board. They scan somebody.
Mhm.
We don't know if they kill this guy or not.
Mhm.
But yeah, we never see them again. They don't talk to each other. They
That was
never
good.
Nothing.
Yeah.
The only kind of face-to-face communication they actually have is when they're talking to that video camera that they place in the engine room.
Right.
And that was it. And that was enough. I didn't want to know who they were.
No,
it was
I agree.
fine leaving it
that was good.
as it was. Next episode, Dear Doctor.
Uh-huh.
Best one of the first season.
Did we do solid A's or did we go to A+?
A+ from both of us.
Okay. And it deserved it.
And this was the best episode, probably one of the best of the whole series. This is great. This
Arguably, yeah.
I remember watching this one with you, and every scene was just out of the park. It was great. Every
Yeah.
scene was perfect. It was hitting the right note, the right beat, and I kept wanting to write stuff down because I was like, "This is important. This is important. This is important." There's just too much to talk about in this episode.
It was just
It was
very,
jam
very well
packed,
done.
and
Yeah.
it ends on a way, the perfect note. Like they don't get what they want. They don't get the cure,
Mhm.
but
And even the
Archer has to make that choice. you know?
and Archer and Phlox are
They disagree.
not happy
No.
with this decision, you know, and it's kind of a bummer ending. And
Well, you know what? This was a Phlox show,
yeah, oh yeah,
and it's too bad he didn't get more. And
I know.
I know that's a big beef.
it's a very
I
good
had.
actor.
I thought he was in more of the first season, but he wasn't.
Mhm.
But this is his show, and
I think he really starts to blossom in season 2.
I hope so. But this is his show, and the actor did great with it.
Oh yeah,
The character was great. The dilemma he goes through, having to hold back information at first. The whole setup of this planet that has two species that are sentient and living together, and then one's dying, one isn't, and what do you do? You know, how do you save one at the expense of the other? I mean, it was a moral dilemma, and then that's right. My one problem was the line, "We need to create some kind of directive." I was like, no, you don't need to put that in there. Everything else was fine, but that.
Mhm.
Did you have anything else? Anything
No.
you wanted to say?
No, I mean I think we said it. It was almost a perfect episode.
Okay. Episode 14, we took a dive. Sleeping Dogs.
Yeah. I remember that.
You gave it a C. I gave it a C+. I was a little kinder to it.
Okay.
You know, in my memory going back to this before we watched it, I thought I was going to like it a little bit more. I was like, yeah, it's got the Klingons in it. I remember being kind of entertained by it. And it was kind of entertaining, but kind of not at the same time.
I think it was another one of those really good examples of
Could have done more.
what you could have done with it. And that's what really let us down. It's not that what they did was necessarily
Mhm.
bad. It's that they didn't take advantage of the premise they laid out.
Well, you know,
And-
you're right. I think
Yeah.
they did have some interesting settings to explore. They go onto a Klingon ship for the first time. They see like the galley, and they got food hanging around, like dead animals
Like
hanging
racks
around
of
everywhere.
meat. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really gross. I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Never seen this before.
Right.
But they don't make much of the environment really beyond first encountering it, really. And then the whole episode is pretty much a dank Klingon engine room, and then back on Enterprise, and you don't. It was just okay.
Yeah. And the interaction.
I remember you thinking that the woman,
The Klingon woman
was too attractive. Was it? Is that what she said?
she was attractive for a Klingon, but also she wasn't Klingon enough.
Oh, that was it.
You know, they really had an opportunity that they started with Klang in Broken Bow, where he was just a big, scary dude and you could not communicate with him. That's how you should see Klingons, you know? And this is pretty much TNG era Klingons you're encountering here. And they're way too domesticated at this point.
TNG era Klingons were a little bit more threatening.
But you could talk to them and reason with them, you know, for the most part. You know, that was a real beef, was that they made them too, they took away their teeth, you know, they didn't give them teeth. And that was really disappointing.
Yeah, if anything, their teeth should have been much sharper back now.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, next episode was episode 15, Shadows of P'Jem.
Mm-hmm.
You gave it a B-. I gave it a B-, so we agreed. This was the sequel to Andorian Incident. We graded it lower than Andorian Incident, so I guess we didn't really... It was okay. It was just... I don't remember much about it, really.
I forget the plot.
Okay, well, let me look it up. So this is about T'Pol is being recalled because of Enterprise's involvement in the destruction of the P'Jem sanctuary.
Sanctuary.
I know. She and Captain Archer are later kidnapped while visiting the planet Korodon. That's right.
I thought this is one where this is where he fell into her boobs. Right?
Yes, that's right. That's right. That was
automatic grade deduction.
Yeah, that was the first. That's how we opened talking about this episode, and it was. I remember feeling very awkward and embarrassed for watching that, and for them. Yeah, that they had to go through that. It was unnecessary.
Very.
But before she fell into him, they were squirming together, and you know, before that
it was awkward.
It was very awkward. It was not necessary at all.
And it didn't even work.
It didn't. But Shran comes back, so when he comes back, the episode gets better. But before that, it was okay. I mean, they get kidnapped going to this planet, which doesn't really has zero interest to us. This planet is involved in some kind of civil war of some kind. I remember that part.
Yeah, there's a conflict going on.
Yeah,
and they think that they're someone else.
Yeah, it was kind of...
I don't remember what Enterprise is doing and all. Why did we rate it that high? I'm not saying it doesn't deserve that. I guess B isn't.
It still was done well.
Nah, you're right.
It was entertaining.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't Terra Nova for crying out loud.
No.
But Shran gets to pay back Archer.
We're even, pink skin.
So that was nice. All right, episode 16. Oh, Shuttlepod 1.
Okay.
A-.
I remember my thing with this. Do you remember?
No.
This was the first time we really pulled out the writer's room. Because
that's right. Yeah. We hadn't called it the writer's room yet.
No, we weren't.
No.
But I remember my concept, which I still stand by, which is that we should have not left. We should have, the whole episode should have taken place on the shuttle. Never see Enterprise, never know that Enterprise is actually okay.
Yeah.
Until they show up, and have it be entirely from Trip and Malcolm's perspective. And that's where the episode lost its marks, because the strength of the episode is 100% the two guys on the shuttle. But whenever they cut away from it, I don't care. And I want to get back on the shuttle. And that's its only weakness, is that it cuts away from them. And to add extra tension, keeping it on the shuttle allows you, the audience, to have no idea what really happened.
Yeah, I don't know if I agreed or disagreed with you then, but I agree with you now. I think you're right.
And I know we both agreed that our memory had it where they were drunker for much longer.
Yeah, it was really like the last 10 minutes or something like that.
Barely even that.
I thought it was like half the episode.
Yeah,
but no,
so did I.
It wasn't. I remember we also brainstormed a possible sequel to the episode. Do you remember that?
Shuttlepod 2?
No, it was like room 235 or something. It was going to take place in someone's room. They were going to be stuck in the room the whole episode. You don't remember this?
Keep going.
That was the basic premise from as I can remember.
Oh, right. Okay.
I think it was going to be Mayweather and Hoshi stuck together.
And they thought they were the only survivors on the ship or something. Yeah, I do remember that.
I think we called it like Crew Quarters 3 or something like that.
Some smarty pants title. I remember that. That's where this is, I think, our first example of really digging into the writer's room.
Yeah, I think so. But this is a really good Enterprise episode. This is one of their best. This is one that gets turned into a podcast for the two actors later on.
Yeah.
So you see their chemistry kind of born right there. And it worked.
Absolutely.
Next episode, number 17, Fusion. Do you remember what this one was?
Yeah, that's with that creepy ass Vulcan guy.
Well, let me, because it doesn't say creepy ass Vulcan on the IMDb. So let me read this. When the Enterprise encounters a ship of Vulcan pilgrims, yeah, that's right, pilgrims. Why do they call it that? T'Pol is convinced by one of them to perform a Vulcan mind meld.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. So he's kind of like a rapist type.
Sort of.
He's very rapey. I think we use that phrase.
He's a date rape kind of a guy.
Yeah.
Like,
I want
he
you
would
to drink
definitely
this.
slip something in your drink.
Yeah.
And I remember our biggest beef, or at least my biggest beef, but I think you agreed, was that T'Pol was way too smart to fall for this guy's shtick.
Yeah.
You know, he's so obvious.
Well, I think I disagreed with you in that I think she didn't fall for him, but her own curiosity about what he was offering.
And I get that, but I think if they were going to still have her go along with it, it should have been with the clear point made on her part, which is she knows he's no good, but I'm still tempted by what you got, you know?
Okay. I didn't give our grades, by the way. B-. I gave it an A-. I really liked this one. And I think my reasoning was I liked it enough to forgive it for him playing so obvious.
Right. And that was my biggest problem.
Because I thought it was necessary. He needed to be so evil that it was...
Well, he wasn't evil.
Well, he needed...
He was just a douchebag.
His behavior needed to be large enough to be picked up by everyone. And, you know, if it made it too subtle, you know, the tension might not have been there early enough for some. But I think you were right, though. I think overall, I think if they toned it down and introduced it in small increments, build it up a little bit, and then some mystery. Is he bad? Is he what? Is he not? Was it just a bad moment? Could have been better.
And this one had the subplot with that Vulcan whose dad was dying.
Yes. He's
befriended Trip.
They have that awkward conversation in the mess hall. He's like, "Oh, sex. We do have it."
Yeah.
Everyone turns and looks at him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good B plot.
And Trip is trying to convince him to talk to his dad and so on. And I remember we both thought that was buttoned up a little too neatly.
It was too neat.
I forget what we said, but we rewrote what Trip would have said to him, because the story was a little like, well, that's it? That's all you got?
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah. I remember that. But it was still good for the most part, leading up to that end, which we thought was too neat. It was good.
Right.
Oh, right, man. Oh, man. We're coming to the dregs here, man. Episode 18. Rogue Planet. Oh man. I'm not going to read the synopsis on this one. It doesn't matter.
I don't even want to talk about it.
It's a planet. It's rogue, and they land on it. And it doesn't matter what happens on it because it's freaking boring. It was so boring. Do you remember what your grade was for this?
Did we actually give it an F?
We didn't give any Fs. We were damn close.
Then it had to have been like a D-.
We did. We both gave it a D-. We did not go to F. I'm surprised we didn't.
All of our talk about Terra Nova was better. This is our worst rated episode, I would wager.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. And deservedly so.
Well, for a long time, it was Terra Nova. We didn't think it'd get worse than that. But then we got this, and we're like, oh my God. At least this is when we started to say, at least Terra Nova was about something. Like
this was about nothing.
This was nothing. Like, what happened? I don't know. Like, they landed on the planet and they saw some floating creatures or something. I don't know. Like, no, Archer saw a hot lady.
Yeah,
and he kept following her around.
I think this is the first one where we, at the end of it, because we do these, we watch the episode and we turn right around and do the episode. This is one where we turn right around and went, wait, what was that guy's name?
Yeah.
Who did this? And we were like, I have no idea. It just flowed over me like vapor.
The only thing I remember, because this was the only good moment in the episode, was when a moment between T'Pol and Archer, where Archer is telling her about the woman he sees, and then T'Pol says, had it been a sweaty man, would you be as interested as you are right now?
That's a good point. If he looked like Silent Bob, would we be having this conversation right now?
And he's, of course, no. The answer is no.
Yeah.
And they turn out to be like native creatures on the planet or something. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. It was so unimpressive. I was like, whatever, let's move on. Thankfully, the next one was a pickup. Episode 19, Acquisition, the Ferengi episode.
Uh-huh.
You gave it an A-. I gave it a B+.
It was a fun episode.
I think this is the first episode where we started instituting awards.
Is that right?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I don't remember what awards we gave it, but I think this is when we started doing it. Obviously, by the scores, I remember liking it. I don't really remember anything particular about it.
The only thing I remember, other than that we generally enjoyed it, was that there were 3 Ferengi.
I think there was
Or
4,
four.
and we thought there didn't need to
That's
be 4.
right. And the 4th one was completely irrelevant.
Yeah, they could have just given his lines to the other guy.
Because the other 3 guys were played by notable actors.
Yeah, one is Ethan Phillips. And
The
one
other is
it
Jeffrey Combs.
Max. Is it Max Grodenchek?
No, that's wrong. No, it's played by Ethan Phillips. What did I just say? Jeffrey Combs and Clint Howard.
Clint Howard, yeah.
Who's just perfect
He
as an alien.
he always looks like Clint Howard no matter what he dresses
which
up
is
as.
to his benefit.
Yes.
But the 4th guy has no personality, and or he can't compete with those 3 personalities. And
but they had laser whips. Remember that?
right, yeah. And they were just generally dumb.
And
not entirely.
One of them wanted to take T'Pol with them.
Yeah.
They wanted to find their vault. It was a fun little caper.
It was just fun. It didn't take itself seriously.
That's what we called it. We called it Die Hard on the Enterprise because
Trips in his undies.
He didn't have any shoes, and
Right.
that's right.
And I know that was our only rewrite, which is to have that go on longer.
No, my rewrite was to have
it be
put on some
Die Hard.
pants.
No, we wanted it to be Die Hard, right?
Oh, yeah, basically. Yeah.
Which would have been really fun.
Like a real homage to Die Hard. If they're going to go that far, you might as well just go
straight
all the way.
up do an homage.
I wanted to
it.
see Trip tie a hose around his waist and jump off the roof.
And swing into the shuttle bay or something.
Yeah, something like that. That would have been awesome.
That would have been really cool.
Okay. Next one was a Big Step Down.
Uh-oh.
Episode 20, Oasis. Do you remember what this episode was about?
I remember it was with Odo.
Yes.
And they find this crashed ship, and we are realizing that we're watching that Deep Space Nine episode with Odo.
Shadow play.
About Odo,
Yes.
with Odo now in it. And
Yes.
it was very not fun.
Yeah, the
boring.
synopsis here on the IMDb doesn't actually make any sense. The crew of Enterprise searches for a seemingly abandoned ship on a desert planet. They're searching for it, but they find it in the first scene.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. Right. Anyway, unless the ship they find isn't the ship they were looking for, I don't know.
It doesn't even matter.
The episode,
it was a throwaway episode.
It was a ripoff
And a ripoff.
That's why we rated it so low, because it was a carbon copy of Shadowplay, which was a better episode.
And not only that, they had the Rene Auberjonois and criminally underused him.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. Very disappointing.
Very much so. Our grades, by the way, this was pretty close to one of the lowest.
Like C minuses?
D from you, D plus from me.
All right.
So it was sitting pretty close to Terra Nova and
I
Rogue
remember
Planet
being
territory.
very underwhelmed by that and just being like, man, what is going on?
It was.
So I think our biggest beef was just that it was a blatant ripoff.
I don't think we even bothered trying. Did we try to rewrite this one?
No, I don't think so. We just said get rid of it. It's pointless. That's shameful.
Well, I remember in the trivia, you'd said that Rene Auberjonois, he's like, hey, this looks a lot like the episode I did on DS9. Actually, it's a lot like it. Did you guys rip this off?
Yeah, and they did.
I
mean, I doubt they did it on purpose, but at some point they obviously were no doubt made aware that an episode existed that was basically the same story, and they kept going. So that's a real shame. Just a real shame.
I think once they noticed, they would have tried to change it a little bit.
Not much.
All right. Next one, kind of also a disappointment. Episode 21, Detained. This had Dean Stockwell in it.
Yeah.
So you gave it a C+. I gave it a C+. We agreed. For people,
a lot of missed opportunities in this
For people that may not remember, Archer and Mayweather are captured by Tendarans and placed in a Suliban internment camp. I do remember the award that I gave. I gave Mayweather the Shatner Award for Best Dramatic Performance.
For his speech at the
Yes.
watering hole.
Yes, that was beautiful. It was beautiful. So much energy just burst off the screen.
I remember that scene, and I remember us talking about it,
Mhm.
and my attitude being that wouldn't it have been nice to, rather than see what's his name, Mayweather, be the perfect Starfleet guy and go, no, it's because he just got beaten.
Yeah.
And, you know, he fights through that pain to make a bridge of friendship with this guy. Have him just go, screw off, man. Like, I just got beat. You know, thanks a lot.
One of our big criticisms, and we were hesitant to call it a criticism, but then we allowed it because you're putting these two guys together, Dean Stockwell and Scott Bakula, two famous sci-fi guys who were on a show together once before. You put them together and you don't give them anything good to do.
Yeah, nothing.
Dean Stockwell, you get him as a guest, give him something good to do.
Give him
something.
to chew
I'm not saying
on.
you got to make it a Quantum Leap homage, but for
Right.
crying out loud, give him something to chew on. They didn't give him anything.
No, very, very disappointing.
And I was like, this it could have been any guy. And I think I said, like, did he just run into him on the sidewalk? Hey, Dean, you want to be in the episode? It was like,
If
it's already written. You know?
if you're going to get Dean Stockwell, I would write an episode around the fact that he's going to be in it.
Yes.
And have it be an episode just like that Deep Space Nine episode, Hard Time,
Yeah.
where he's where we see O'Brien develop a relationship with this one-off character.
HR.
HR. I don't care what the situation is. Create a situation where Archer and Dean Stockwell are forced to be together for X amount of time, and just let their natural chemistry run the show.
Yeah, everything took place
all it
in
needed
his
to be.
office.
Yeah,
and it was just
weak.
back and forth, shot
Yeah.
B, shot A over and over again.
Very disappointing.
Basically, yeah, that's what it was, a Japanese internment camp analogy, and they actually referenced that in the episode. I didn't think they were going to go that far, but they did. I thought that was unnecessary.
Well,
But that concept in and of itself is not bad. That's an okay concept, and they did some okay things with it. Making the Suluban actual Suluban, making them sympathetic here, because you find out, not all Suluban are like that. Some are just regular folk.
those are just the outliers, really.
Right. That was interesting.
It was. And
That
they
was
actually
okay.
do reference this episode. It comes up later.
It does. It
Yeah.
does. I don't remember which one. Maybe we'll
I don't
find
either.
out. Okay, next episode 22, Vox Sola or Sola. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
Whatever.
Do you remember what it was?
Yeah, that's the one where the space mucus
Yes, the space mucus. That's what they should have called it. Space mucus.
traps people in engineering or one of the rooms or whatever.
It's Latin. I remember we looked it up. I don't remember.
Oh
what it
yeah,
meant.
we did have to look it up, and we're like, oh.
Well, you
all right.
you did it as your trivia, and I
Okay.
was going to bring it up as well, but yeah, I can't remember what it means now. It doesn't matter. The episode was just very not memorable, I would say. You gave it a B-.
It was
I
all
gave it
right.
a B-. I don't know if I read our review ratings for Detained. It was C+ and C+. Did I?
Oh well, that makes sense.
Okay. But B- and B- on Vox Sola. We actually graded it higher than Detained, so that's surprising.
I don't remember what they were, but I know we had some rewrite things that would have improved it. I forget what they were.
I don't remember much about this episode other than that space mucus. They were hanging in it for a while.
I think I think if memory serves, my idea was to tell the episode entirely from the space mucus's perspective,
yeah.
and have it come on board and encounter like these weird things, and it's like weird vision, whatever. And it's because we find out at the end that it's just scared,
Right.
but that doesn't really have a payoff. So have the whole episode show what it would be like for this
To
completely
be space mucus.
not humanoid creature come onto the ship and just not
Yeah.
know where it is, not know what to do. So it does what it does, and I thought that would have been an interesting way to take a somewhat generic plot, which was done like on Stargate. They did something similar.
Sure.
So
And Hoshi has to figure out how to talk to it, which we've seen before.
yeah,
And it's like a bunch of squeals. And it was really, it hurt my ears. It was piercing.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was bad. I don't know
Yeah.
why they picked that noise. Couldn't they just do some beeps and boops or something?
Beep,
Like,
beep, boop, boop. Yeah.
I was like, okay, enough of that.
No, I know what you mean.
Okay, episode 23, Fallen Hero.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was a good one.
So you gave it, well, I gave it an A minus. No, backwards. You gave it an A minus. I initially gave it a B plus. But you talked me into an A minus. You were actually very upset. You were like, "What? You're not going to give it an A?
What is your
And I was like,
problem?
and I said, "Come on, man, convince me to make me wrong." And you're like, "Oh, you said the actress's name." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, I guess I can bump it up for that." This was actually surprisingly good. I went into this episode not expecting anything. And I was pretty blown away by how good it was.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be kind of just a throwaway episode, maybe just mediocre. Hopefully just mediocre, not horrible like Rogue Planet, but it was actually really good. It had Dr. Tainer from that TNG episode Inheritance, and she was very good. She was
Very good.
Her acting was...
She did what Dean Stockwell should have done, which is have you go,
wow, that was great.
That guy's awesome.
She
stole the show
from everyone.
Yeah, she's that good.
She was that. I mean, I'm not really familiar with her IMDb
She's
credits.
Been acting for a very long time.
But you can tell she's been acting for a while.
And when she walks in with gravitas.
Yeah.
And you don't get that very often.
Owns the frame.
She does.
Yeah.
And she makes you instantly believe that she is this high level revered character. And yeah, she has a different relationship with everyone that she encounters. She's a true diplomat, but in a good way. It was a really good episode.
I remember my criticism being that I thought that the way the episode ended could have been better. I think
we both felt that.
I think I did more so. I think I wasn't pleased with where it was going. I think I felt like I wanted her to be, the fallen hero character, whatever her name was. It felt a little too straightforward wherever they were going. I think they had to turn her over to someone.
Yeah.
And I felt like she was hiding something, but it turned out she wasn't actually hiding anything.
Well, she was, but it wasn't what you think it is.
Right.
It was just she was holding information that...
I remember now. I felt like they were setting us up for her to be
bad,
duplicitous.
Right.
Like this, she was setting us up for something, but it didn't pay off. And I think that's what I felt at the end. But now that I know, looking back, I can forgive it on that. I think that's probably why what you said as well, why I turned it into an A. Okay, next episode.
Desert Crossing.
Desert Crossing, episode 24. Good memory. Well, this was not that long ago.
Yeah.
So.
Captain Archer!
Hey! This is Clancy Brown
So
episode.
good to see you!
Yeah, this is about a desert crossing.
Yeah.
This was the only review where we went scene by scene. We never did it again after that. We're not going to do it again after that because that was a mistake. But I remember the episode being okay. You gave it a B minus. I gave it a B. Clancy Brown was fine. He did a good job. I think I wanted a little bit more of him. It's Clancy Brown.
Exactly.
I remember I couldn't help but thinking of Spaceballs the whole time they were out there in the desert, but it was fine. They go down, they take off their shirts to play lacrosse, and then the next thing you know, they're walking in the desert for a couple of days.
Yeah,
it was okay. It was just fine. Did you have anything about it?
I don't remember what I said about it, but I remember thinking that there should have been some changes made with I forget Clancy Brown's character's name, but it's obvious from the get-go that he's kind of up to no good, and he's a little too pushy. And I enjoyed the stuff like when they have to run from the camp. I enjoyed the stuff with Archer and Trip, where Trip is getting he's hallucinating, delirium and all that. And he did a very good job at it, actually. And I enjoyed that dynamic and the way that played. I think my problem was with the characters, not Clancy Brown, but the character they wrote was kind of like, make a decision. Is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? And they kind of leave him in the middle. And that leaves me looking at him like, well, whatever, And
you think it would be better than to leave him in the gray area?
No, I think it would have been a little more fun to have him. I know we talked about the scene where he goes back on Enterprise towards the end, and there was this what could have been an altercation with he and Malcolm that didn't
And
happen.
T'Pol.
And T'Pol.
I remember. I wanted T'Pol to come up with one hand.
Yeah, and I wanted Malcolm to like stand up to him.
Yeah.
And, we both wanted to see.
Well, we awarded Malcolm the No Grumba award for cowardice.
I just think it was missed opportunities, unfortunately. No fault of Clancy Brown. Just
No.
I just felt like, and like Archer ends the episode saying, the irony is he probably does deserve help. I'm like, don't go there.
This is when they bring back that episode.
Right. That's right.
That's why he's looking for
references.
He found those refugees
Yeah.
and found out about Archer through them.
Right. That's right. And it's all blown out of proportion.
Right. Yeah. It was like a William Wallace situation.
Right.
We're like, oh, he's 10 feet tall and he can blow fire out his ass.
Yeah.
Next episode 25, 2 days and 2 nights. Do you remember the rating you gave this one?
I remember not liking this episode.
Well, okay, we were building this one up for a long time.
We really were.
And it did not live up to expectations.
If I had to guess, I would say I gave it somewhere in the C's.
We both gave it a C++.
All right.
The only episode that had the 2 additions. That was because of Phlox, and Phlox had some funny slapstick.
Right. That's right. That was the saving grace of the episode.
And there was some interesting interplay with Malcolm and Trip
for a little bit.
But
you and I really entered the writer's room.
We went into writer's room big time on this one.
Yeah,
because we were like,
and we came up with such a better story.
Well, because we were so upset. We had this plot with Archer and this woman that goes absolutely nowhere. It leads to nowhere. Like, what was the point of that? There was no reason.
Yeah.
We came up with a better story.
And without changing the location,
not to toot our own
anything,
horn here, but come on.
No, it was better. I'm sorry, it was much better. And then here we are, Shockwave Part 1.
Okay, you gave it a B and I gave it a B. I think, this was just last week, so it's much easier to remember, but
definitely hit the writer's room hard on this one.
We did hit the writer's room very hard, and we kind of rewrote the first part of this. But our grade of a B was, I think, mostly because of the faults we found in it, but a lot of it was because this was a part 1. Mm-hmm. We're not getting any resolution in this episode. But do you remember the rewrites that we had in particular?
Well, I remember
we were gonna have him steal the ship.
We came up with this whole idea that in part 1, as the episode is,
mm-hmm.
the actual tension
is resolved.
Is resolved when the Enterprise proves, at least to
them, shouldn't be.
No,
it shouldn't be. It should continue into the next part.
They are not responsible. Yeah. And that should have been held out. That should have been the big thing.
Yes.
And we came up with this whole idea that what we saw in the episode is kind of like maybe even just the first act, where the incident happens, they go back to Earth. Right. They're decommissioned.
They lose their ship. They go about their separate ways.
And so a little bit of time passes.
And time passes, yeah.
And I forget the machinations of how, but
we were going to have them come back together. Not all of them.
Right.
Some of them were going to stay behind.
We were going to do this
in other ways.
Star Trek 3.
Yes.
And they were going to
steal the Enterprise,
steal the decommission, which like had a warp net.
We were going to have it. You recommended having it take off from the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were going to hijack it from the surface and go.
And take off, and their whole intention is to get back to that planet
so they can prove
because they know they didn't do this.
Yeah,
and have it end. What was the ending bit? Oh, I think we even said, we could wrap it up with the time travel stuff, but have the entire episode be they are guilty and they refuse to admit it. And so they're determined, just like in 3, to Star Trek 3, to go do this thing.
Yeah,
and I think it was great.
I think we. That was one thing we really keyed on, was that we got to see Archer really hit the skids.
Yeah.
Like, he was depressed. He was not happy.
We had
an opportunity to see him go down further and get to a point to where he's willing to steal his ship to prove that he was right.
Yeah, a genuine career ender.
And that could have been a season finale, man.
Heck yeah.
That would have brought in viewers and got them hooked to come back.
And I think, didn't we button it up with, them warping off or something?
Yeah.
Basically the end of the ship stealing scene in Star
Trek 3.
Warp 3. You know, and everyone go, oh my God, and it's missing a warp engine and all this stuff. It's like, because like we had it where the ship was being slowly taken apart.
Yeah.
And gutted for different things.
Yeah, it wouldn't have to be all put together. Yeah. I mean, they would get what they could, you know.
And I think we even
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
I know. We even theorized that perhaps part 2 could do a reset where they go back using the whole Daniel's time travel.
Oh, really?
And to make it where that part. I think, or maybe we talked about it afterwards. I don't know.
Okay.
But that, you know, that's how we would resolve it, because you kind of can't come back from going that dark. You know, you would have to reset it. And, but regardless, I think it was great.
Yeah, I think this is what we said during the review. That's not to say it was not a good episode. It was still good.
But we highlighted that an element that they addressed in the episode, they addressed way, way too quickly.
Yes.
And that was the actual dramatic meat. And they didn't quite recognize that. They were just kind of blew that off so they could get on with the whole time travel thing, which frankly wasn't that interesting.
Yeah, the real interesting part was what we just talked about.
Yeah, and the potential outcome of that, which should have been very much lengthened. Unfortunately, it wasn't.
Well, that wraps up season 1.
Yeah.
So, overall, let's see. I gave 9 A's, 8 B's, 6 C's, and 3 D's. Justin, you gave 8 A's, 11 B's, 4 C's, and 3 D's. So the one thing that we had was 3 D's. That was the one agreement we had. So I had an average score of 2.8. You 2.9. So pretty close.
Pretty close.
So, I mean, you just round it up. I say our average was 3.
Right.
I would say. So average score is probably a B for each episode overall. That's what you would say. It's not bad. That's not too bad. Not too good.
No.
Not too bad either. It was just kind of okay.
Yeah.
But when they hit low, boy, did they hit low.
Yeah. Boy, what that I would say that average goes,
I think if we did this again, we'd probably give Rogue Planet an F. I think we were being generous.
Yeah, I think we would have, because there was just damn near nothing worthwhile in that one.
I mean, that's something. D denotes something redeeming, but there wasn't anything.
The fact that did worse than Terra Nova really, really says something.
Yeah, it's hard to watch. When you're by yourself and an episode is bad, you can just turn it off. But, we're committed. We're sitting together watching this together. We got to pile through, but we can't talk during the episode. Yeah. So we know it sucks, but we can't talk about it till it's over. So it's like slow torture,
And that's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah.
I felt like I had nodded off, which I did. I nodded off and I thought, I must have missed something about the plot, because this doesn't make sense. But I realized, no, it's not because I nodded off, or maybe I never did. The plot doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Well, it does, but it's lame.
If there was anything I'd change about our grades, it would be that. I think all of our grades were good. I didn't have a problem. I didn't want to revise any of them, but I think I'd probably make that an F.
I would agree with you. That's the new Terra Nova.
That is the new Terra Nova.
That episode is shale.
Serious shale. And digger meat.
Terra Nova has Bernadette and digger meat and shale, things that we can at least laugh with.
Yeah.
This has nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, like, at least, Terra Nova had the bones of something that could have been interesting.
Yeah.
Terra Nova was just like, they land on a planet and they see some stuff.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And the planet's just floating out there. Why is there heat? Like, they never explained that.
No, the only thing that we found remotely interesting in Rogue Planet was the girl that Archer kept seeing, because we kept going, she's kind of cute, but that's it.
Well, she had to be.
Well, yeah, but that's all. And we thought, where did we know her from? And we figured it out.
What was she from?
She was the helmsman in Star Trek His Erection.
Oh yes. the
trill.
The trill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only thing of interest to us, and that was just, where did we know her from?
His Erection. That's what it should have been called.
Star Trek His Erection.
That movie would have made twice as much money.
It would have been great.
Oh man. All right. So that wraps up our season 1 recap. I don't have anything else I want to say. That closes the book on season 1, unless you want me to keep the book open for any other comments from you?
Well, I think I probably already said it, which is that this whole season was an experiment in could have beens.
Mhm.
And
Definitely does not hold up as much as I remembered.
no, it does not. And I know you didn't want me to tell you, but I know during one of our episodes, I skimmed through some of the titles that were coming for
Yeah.
season 2.
Uh-huh.
I think things will improve.
Okay.
I only went like 5 or 6 episodes deep,
Okay.
so I kind of forget the rest. But
Well, sometimes I kind of hope for a really big stinker because that gives us a
those
lot.
are a lot of
Those
fun.
are a lot of fun to tear apart, but not when they're boring.
Yeah,
It's Rogue
boring
Planet
is different.
That's Rogue Planet.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
Terra
we could do
Nova's
with
a
that.
stinker, but there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
There's nothing to talk about
Because it was so
with
bad
Rogue
it was
Planet.
funny. Like I mean, the Rogue Planet just puts you to sleep.
It does.
Yeah, it's bad. And that's the biggest sin. Boredom.
Mhm.
That's what it is. All right. That's it. Book is closed. We're moving on to season 2.
Shockwave Part 2.
See you in the next one.
All right.